A dimension is for size and position of the designed and modeled shape. A dimension is a numerical value expressed in appropriate units of measurement and used to define the size, location, orientation, form, or other geometric characteristic of a part. So, a dimension is a number in standard unit of measures shown on a drawing to indicate size, location, or orientation of a graphic features. So, dimensioning consists of lines, symbols, and placement techniques. In dimensioning, provide two types of information: the location of a features and a size of a features. And also, we tackled on this lesson or topic what's the importance and the purpose of dimension. And we also tackled the differences between dimension line, extension line, leader line, and on how to use and what's the steps of dimensioning. And we also tackled on how and where to put dimensioning.
What is the purpose of dimensioning? Ang layunin ng dimensioning ay upang magbigay ng isang malinaw at kompletong paglalarawan sa isang bagay. We have 4 rules that should be followed while dimensioning. The first one is accuracy. Correct values must be given. Dimension is a fundamental element in engineering drawing. Ang bawat maliit na detalye ay dapat natumpak, napakatotoo para alam ng mga kliyente kung ano ang aasahan nila. The second one is clearness. Dimensions must be placed in appropriate positions. Engineers use drawings to clearly communicate exactly what has to be delivered and the amount of deviation from the perfect geometry that is acceptable. It's critical that engineering drawings are complete and have all the dimensions and views required to make the part. Ang bawat dimension ay dapat ibigay ng malinaw upang maaari itong mabigyan ng kahulugan sa isang paraan lamang. The next one is completeness. Nothing must be left out and nothing must be duplicated. Ang mga sukat ay hindi dapat na doble o ang parehong impormasyon na ibinigay sa dalang magkaibang paraan. At walang sukat na dapat ibigay maliban sa mga kinakailangan upang makabuo o siyasatin ang bahagi. The last one is readability. The appropriate line quality must be used for legibility. Ang mga sukat ay dapat nakakabit sa view kung saan pinakamahusay itong pinapakita. Madalas ito yung front view. Iwasan ang dimension sa mga nakatagong linya hanggat maaari.
The importance and purpose of dimensioning. The dimensioning and more importantly, the tolerance that are applied to those dimensions completely define the geometry and material for a component and or assembly. When dimension and tolerance are properly applied, the allowable variation from the ideal form is completely defined, is an object, and unambiguous manner. Components or assembly made to this specification should perform in coordinates with both the designer's intent and the user's expectations.
Dimension line is a thin line broken in the middle to allow the placement of the dimension value with arrowheads at each end. Parallel dimension lines should be a minimum of 1/4 apart. Dimension lines are generally broken in the center of the line to provide a space or dimension figure.
Extension lines. thin lines used to establish the extent of a dimension can also be used to show extensions of a surface to a theoretical intersection, as shown in B. Begin 1.5 mm from the object and extend to 3 mm beyond the last dimension. They should not cross dimension lines. Extension lines allow you to show a measurement without having to put it on component. If adding extension lines isn't feasible, dimensions can be put on a section. This is an example. This line. This side is 1.75 millimeter, and then this side we have here 3.00 millimeter, and then this side we have here 1.50 or 1.5 millimeter, and then this side is we have here 3.50 or 3.5 millimeter, and then the last one is this side. We have here 5 millimeter, and then imagine this lines. This is what you call the extension line.
A leader is a thin line used to connect a dimension with a particular area. A leader line is a line referring to some forms of features that could be a dimension in object or in an outline. So, a leader is a thin solid line that directs viewers' attention of a node or a dimension. It is also used to connect a specific node or description to a features. A leader line is a line that establishes a connection between a graphical representation of an item and some text. Example, drawing a letter A. Letter may also be used to indicate a note or comment about a specific area. When there is limited space, a heavy black dot may be substituted for the arrows, as in figure 8.1. Also in this drawing, two holes are identical, allowing the 2x notation to be used and the dimension to point to only one of the circles. So, a leader line with arrow identifies a location. A leader line with a dot identifies a surface. So, a leaders to a circle should be drawn so that it would pass through the center of the circle if it is extended. So, nodes or dimension that pertains to surface or parts use a leader line. And always use a arrowhead when leader lines terminate at the outline of an object. And use dots when leader lines terminates with the outline of the object or on the surface of the object. Steps in dimensioning. There are two basic steps in dimensioning objects regardless of the types of object. Step 1. Apply the size dimensioning. There are dimensions which indicate the overall sizes of the object and the various features which make up the object. Step 2. Apply the location dimensions. Location dimensions are dimensions which locate various features of an object from some specified datum or surface. So, generally, dimensioning involves identifying the location and size dimensions. So, size dimensions determine the overall size and shape of drawing. And the location dimension typically determine where different entities are located within the drawing. So, as you can see in the picture, the S, that is a size dimensions, and the L, the red L, is location dimensions. So, when locating an items within the drawing, locating a hole or other objects, always give the horizontal and vertical position as it relates to an object. Then, before this, give the size of the object.
So where to put dimensions? The dimensions should be placed on the face that describes the feature most clearly. So for me, it is important to remember to place dimensions on the views in a 2 or 3 viewed drawing where they will be the most easily to understood. We have to make some choices when we dimension a block with notch or cutout. It is usually best to common line or surface. This is called datum line of surface. This eliminates the addition of measurement or machining inaccuracies that would come from chain or series.
In this figure, we have shown a hole that we have chosen the dimension on the left side of the object. This stands for diameter. This sign is what we call position tolerance. But if this sign, a plus sign, to become equal to the side is what we call traditional tolerancing or traditional tolerance. The example used in position tolerance is this one. If the side is equal, this side is 0.014 equal to this box. Plus 0.005 this also is plus 0.005.
the left side of the block is radiuses. As in a figure 9.9, we break our rule that we should not duplicate dimensions. The total length is known because the radius of the curve on the left side is given. Then, for the clarity, we add the overall length of 60 and we note that it is a reference dimension. This means that it is not really required. For example, a directly dimensioned hole. Somewhere on the paper, usually the bottom, there should be place information what measuring system is being used, inches and millimeter, and also the scale of drawing.
As you can see in the figure, the drawing is symmetric about the horizontal center line. Ginagamit ang mga center line para sa mga symmetrical na bagay at then para sa mga bilog at butas. Maaari namang sukatin ng direkta sa center line. Sa ilang mga kaso, ang pamamaraan ito ay maaaring maging mas malinaw kaysa sa pag-dimension sa pagitan ng mga iba.
So, sum up the difference among dimension line, extension line, and leader's line. So, dimension line are thin and are used to show the actual size of an object. There are arrowheads at both ends that terminates at the extension lines. And extension lines are also thin lines, showing the limits of dimensions. Dimension line arrowhead touch extension lines, and leaders are more thin lines used to point to an area of a drawing, requiring a note for explanation. And what are the purpose of dimensioning? So, the purpose of dimensioning is to provide a clear and complete description of an object. And a complete set of dimensions will permit only one interpretation needed to construct the part. And dimensioning should follow the guidelines like accuracy, clearliness, completeness, and readability.